Nazism was my childhood. I learned to hail as I learned to walk. Hitler was the first person I learned to recognize, after my parents. How can I be blamed for going with it? I didn't know any other way. I'll admit it, I never questioned anything. I was born with blue eyes, an Aryan German through and through. I was proud of my parents. I did well in school. I loved going to the meetings with the League of German Girls. I had great friends in my classes, and the teachers adored me. My family life had never been better. Why would I ever have thought twice about anything? I had my life all set up for me. I'd marry a nice German boy, and we'd have lots of children to continue the growth of our beloved country. I saw nothing wrong with this plan. In fact, the persecution was something I just sort of breezed over. I agreed with everyone else. I knew that Jews were bad, gypsies were bad, communists were bad. I knew that we were Germans and we were superior to all. I knew everyone else would be taken care of because they didn't deserve to live in our glorious country. I didn't really think about what that would be like to an outsider. I just accepted it as the truth. When it all came crashing down in 1945, I was only 12. Then all of a sudden, everything that was right became wrong. I was confused. It took me years to come to terms with it. I still don't understand how something so normal was so abruptly taken from me. This might sound self-centered and inconsiderate, but I and the children brought up in the same world as me were also victims of the Holocaust. We weren't hurt physically, but our identities were shattered. After it was all over, we were forced to recreate opinions and start from scratch. We relearned the meaning of right and wrong when we had been lied to our entire lives.
I don't know what made me think different from everybody else, but from my first moment of going to that meeting of the League of German Girls, I just knew it was all very wrong. I suppose it was because I loved learning. In this new Germany, all that was expected was that you be as strong as you can and have as many children as you can. But I wanted to be a scientist or a doctor or a lawyer. I didn't want to be a teenage mother. And I wasn't ready to give up my dreams that easily. I got away with my spats of rebellion because my parents were more Nazi than anyone else. When I didn't say Heil in class or in the league, the teachers, they'd whisper, they'd punish me, but they all knew that they all knew who my parents were, and I was never punished too severely. Living in Munich in 1942, I was handed a flyer by the White Rose. I heard later that they were a group of students and their professor at a university, and I don't know. I knew that they had a death sentence, basically, and I knew they knew that too, but I envied them somehow. I think I always wished I was brave enough to do more than I did, but hearing that a group of young people were willing to make that ultimate sacrifice, it just inspired me somehow. And I began to sort of idolize them. I collected all their leaflets until they were arrested and executed the next year. I remember the feeling of despair when they were killed. I was trapped in a Nazi world with no one thinking for themselves, and I was in an uncomfortable position. I could step up and protest and be killed, or I could keep quiet, keep my head down, and wait for everything to just blow over. But I did the latter. I could have influenced others to join the cause. I could have gotten people thinking. But instead, I went along with, even participated in the Nazi machine. I'll regret that all my life.
Well, of course I supported Hitler. Why would I not have? We, the Hitler Youth, were one of his greatest prides. He taught us, he led us, he addressed us as sons. It is hard for those who criticize to imagine what it felt like to be part of something so big, so important. Especially for those of us who had never been big or important before. We were more than a club. We were the future. There was a man standing before us, telling us that we were the key to the future of our country. we were the single most important piece of a puzzle. And as many times as we try to explain that we were ignorant to the horrors behind it, we are still denied forgiveness. Yes, I was at the rally at Nuremberg. I won't try to deny it. Hearing our beloved Führer speak to us personally was probably the most awe-inspiring moment of my life thus far. But it must be understood, I was 11 years old. I stood next to my friends, and I suspected Hitler of as much as you suspect your idols and your role models. It is a guilt that I will always have to live with, and is a dreadful mistake that will stay with me for the rest of my life.
My story is one that has been told time and time again, and I'm sure you've already heard it, but it's one that never loses its effect on people, and it's probably one of the most common stories of the Holocaust. My family were practicing Jews. I was bat mitzvahed at 13, and I went to a Jewish school. We all spoke German, though. My family, although Jewish, had many friends that were not Jewish. My family was popular and outgoing in our small village, and these friendships, when Hitler came to power, were really what saved us. In 1942, Nazis were stationed in our out-of-the-way village. My family was scared. In the dead of night, we left our house, bringing only our most beloved possessions, leaving the rest behind, and hid in the attic, the windowless attic of a friend's house. We stayed there for 3 years, alone and scared. My family owes those people our lives. It was a miserable, torturous 3 years, and the dreary monotony of each day I will never forget as long as I live. But then I think of the alternative, of the death camps, the concentration camps, the ghettos, and I realize just how lucky we got. I guess what I'm trying to say is that though the Holocaust was an awful time, not all Aryan Germans were horrible. There were those who hid Jews in their homes, who stood up for Jews, who saved Jews who would otherwise have been killed. They went against the government, and these Germans are the true heroes of the Holocaust.